wedding. It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
We're heading back to Fish Camp again this week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio. That's right, it's the Fish Camp Edition Part 2. In case you missed last week's show, the Fish Camp takes place every year in the Columbia River Gorge. Our headquarters is the Peach Beach RV Park right across the river from Biggs Junction, Oregon. And Fish Camp has been hosted for, about 14 years now by guide and promoter Ed Iman and his wife Pam and a great crew that invite outdoors media personalities like myself and fishing guides and tournament anglers and retailers and manufacturers in the fishing industry. We all come together for about 5 days of camping and eating and a little bit of adult drinking and lots of fishing. And the Columbia River Gorge in September is such a spectacular place for that. You have so many options. Number one, you can go for salmon off the mouth of the Deschutes or off the mouth of the Klickitat. If you're a bank angler, you can go onto the Deschutes or the Klickitat and have success as well. Other options include smallmouth bass fishing on the Columbia, walleye fishing on the Columbia, and of course, trophy sturgeon fishing too. Something I love to do at Fish Camp every year is go to Cottonwood Canyon State Park. That's near Condon, Oregon, and I like to hike the John Day River and do some smallmouth bass fishing and take in the wildlife that I'll see there. All in all, it is a ton of fun, and we always record quite a bit of audio there. In fact, this year, we've recorded so much audio that we've got 2 shows for you. And I'm really excited about our first conversation because, like me, you may have been wondering what happened to that iconic Northwest fishing rod company, Lamiglass. They've been off the radar screen for a couple of years now, and they even took their sign down off their building in Woodland, Washington recently. Never fear, though. It turns out they're not only still here, but they are also coming out with some great new rods you can use for salmon, steelhead, for surf fishing, and more. Lucas Holmgren with Lamiglass joins us to tell you all about it. We'll be talking to Max Lure Pro Guide Bruce Warren again, and this week he's going to tell you about, what he considers kind of a secret weapon when it comes to fishing for trout and salmon. It's called the Double D Dodger, and it's not your normal Dodger at all. If you're a salmon or steelhead angler, you've probably used cured eggs for bait at one time or another, or maybe even any time you can. Well, Steve Lynch, the operations manager for ProCure Bait Sense out of Salem, Oregon, will explain why cured eggs work better than eggs au natural and give you an egg curing 101 seminar in the process. You won't want to miss this. Sometimes, though, you can't use real bait. That's when you turn to artificial offerings, and Lauren Dunbar with Heavy Beads out of Yakima has some new soft and flexible beads that look all the world like eggs that you can put right on or above your hook that will probably work wonders on the water. In addition to this, we've got the latest on how the Snake and Columbia River salmon and steelhead runs are faring, and we've got fishing reports from all over the Northwest, courtesy of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores you'll find throughout the region we are in. Throw in some upcoming events at state parks in our regions and our Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. And we've got a great show coming your way. But before we head back to Fish Camp, it's time for another edition of Sportsman Spotlight, brought to you by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, the outfitter offering fantastic saltwater vacations out of Port Hardy, British Columbia. This week, Matt and Tom talked to guide Todd Smith about how he goes about catching salmon this time of year.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom.
Today I was able to get a hold of good friend and avid fisherman Todd Smith to get some tips on where to find the salmon in big water and some tips on what's working for him. Here's Todd with his report.
The fish will travel almost 40 miles a day if they're running. They'll stick to the outside, and wherever they're getting the scent from the next river that's coming in up, so you know what side of the river, the outside bend of the river as it's turning left. just kind of knowing the patterns that they use and how they go. I mean, they're all over in there, but they don't go out in the dead center in the deep part. You know, they're wanting to run where the water's running a little bit and they can smell what's coming next kind of thing.
Todd, about how fast are you trolling for these fish?
Basically, it's not so much about you moving as it is about the bait moving. And like, say, a super bait, Brad super bait, you just want it enough to where it makes a nice slow swoop. You know, just enough that it doesn't want to, you don't want to sit there and spin it, just enough to loop around. The slower, the better. And if the water's already running decent, you know, a lot of guys will run windsocks and stuff to kind of slow themselves down in the current. But if you're just in some water that's a little bit fast and you anchor, you know, sometimes that'll spin a little bit too fast. That's how we usually do it.
And Todd, what are most guys rigging their poles up with?
Any of those plugs that people like using, you know, hot and tops or wiggle warts, things like that. Mine personally, I like using the Brad super baits, put a little tuna fish in them.
Thank you, Todd. We always appreciate your knowledge on the river. Good luck fishing. You just heard Sportsman Spotlight.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
You can fish from a boat, or you can stand on shore, or you can use a pontoon with carpet on the floor. You can sit upon a...
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and it's another Fish Camp edition, and we are talking with Lucas Holmgren. He's with Lamiglass. It's that rod company that's based out of Woodland, Washington. They've been around a long time, but their star seems to have faded in recent years. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, John?
It's going good. Lucas, I'm just going to put it right out there. Lamiglass, I'll be honest, some of my favorite rods I have ever owned have been made by Lamiglass, and they were really out there in the industry, and all of a sudden the last couple years, poof, just haven't heard anything. As a matter of fact, I was at Fish Camp, and somebody came in and said, yeah, I drove by, and the sign was taken down. Are they going out of business? You know, what's going on with Lamiglass these days?
Well, actually, that's funny. I've gotten that question as well about the sign. First of all, just in terms of the sign itself, that's actually, we're getting a brand new roof on the building, so that sign should be up there again soon. We just need to take it down for the interim when we were rebuilding the roof. So Lamiglass has actually been through a lot of changes in the last couple years, which has kind of caused us to take the focus off of, you know, advertising and being in front of the market as much, but we've still been building rods here in Woodland, Washington, and we're still here and actually better than ever. You know, there's been new ownership over the last 2 years, so there's always, you know, kind of a adjustment change there, and, you know, a couple, you know, employee changes and things of that sort. And there's a ton of developments actually going on at Lamiglass as well as expansion.
Well, this makes me happy because, like I said, I've been a big fan of Lamiglass rods for a long time, and I did not want to see your company fade in the sunset. So you basically have retooled, you're rebranding. What's new for Lamiglass this year?
You said it perfectly. We've kind of retooled and are rebranding. Some of the big kind of major internal developments is a huge emphasis on bringing up the quality control of our blanks. We truly believe a great fishing rod starts with a great blank. So a big emphasis for this year has been getting all new equipment, you know, really bringing the defect rate. You know, we handcraft rods. These are humans creating these rods. So what we're focusing on is doing the absolute best machinery and equipment and processes to make us the absolute best in the industry when it comes to, you know, to just having super solid blanks with an extremely low defect rate. So that's been a huge focus for us. We're also focusing on new designs. We have 60 new models this year in our brand new catalog that are really making an impact. And these are everything from a new salmon and steelhead series, a new fiberglass series, a walleye series. I mean, there's numerous new series in here with beautiful designs. And so just we're in the middle of a bunch of changes, and it has been fantastic. It's been a great year.
Well, let's talk about some of your rods. And folks, I'm not kidding. I'm a big fan of the Lamiglass line. As a matter of fact, during Fish Camp, I was tossing Blue Fox spinners on the Klickitat River with a Lamiglass red line rod and hooked several Chinook with that and got a few in too, so I was happy about that. Let's start off with a salmon steelhead rod. Anything new in that category this year?
Absolutely. And John, just let me mention, you actually inspired me to head up the river on the last day, and I actually brought out one of our two-piece freshwater rods. So it's not even a salmon and steelhead rod. It's more kind of, for large trout and smallmouth and stuff. I ended up getting a 20-pound Chinook on a blue fox. Like
nice.
You said. So thanks for the advice. That was good fun. But new in the salmon and steelhead world is actually one of the most exciting series that we've put out. There have been two extremely popular models for Lamiglass over the years called the G1000 and the Certified Pro. These are two graphite rods that were just extremely popular among our anglers. People still ask for them today. And what we did, those have been discontinued about 2 years ago, both series.
Okay.
And so what we've done is brought both series back except in one series. So we kind of, melded both names. It's now the G1000 Pro. So we're taking the popular designs from the G1000 and the Certified Pro, but we have updated them with some fantastic new updates. The graphite itself is a new graphite that's super sensitive, super strong. They just feel even better than the originals. There's these double locking reel seats that have exposed reel seats on both spinning and casting models. They are cork handles. A beautiful rod, and actually I've got a bunch of buddies and customers that are diehard Certified Pro G1000 fans, and every single one that I have brought in and showed that rod to, they didn't think they would say it, but it's better than the original.
Wow.
We truly have just updated it for the new generation, but stayed true to those classic designs that people love.
All right. Well, that's great news. Let's talk about a product line that I don't think gets a lot of attention out here on the West Coast, and that's your surf rods. I mean, there is definitely surf fishing off the coast of Oregon and Washington, especially for perch, and you make rods for that, don't you?
Absolutely. It's actually, like you said, it's not as known to our West Coast community as much, but it is huge for our East Coast, specifically the Northeast. States like New Jersey and New York, there's a huge following for Lamiglass surf fishing rods, and they see Lamiglass completely different than we do out here on the West Coast. And actually, as of recently, there's been a lot of buzz in the surf fishing community for a blank that we essentially re-released, an old school blank that everyone loved in the GSB series, and we're going to be referring to it as the old school GSB blank. So there's been a lot of buzz in the Northeast recently for those surf blanks. Of course, surfcasters love to build their own rods. And then we have a full lineup of production rods. Out here on the West Coast, actually, like you said, there's a lot of use for, surf perch rods, and I specifically would use, like the Super Surf 2G, the Insane Surf, couple different models for those purposes. But actually, a lot of the guys along the Columbia River that are plunking, maybe up at Bonneville or in the Lower Columbia, are actually using our surf rods for that purpose. Specifically, the casting model. Throwing heavier lead, 4 to 12 to, who knows how many ounces. They need more of a surf rod. Out on the East Coast, there's a lot more demand for spinning surf rods.
Right.
And a lot of them are, they may be doing cast and retrieve techniques with plugs and stuff for stripers, or they may just, be casting bait out there and letting it sit, but a lot more popular in the spinning surf models.
Interesting. So one more rod series I want to talk about here. I mean, you mentioned old school a couple minutes ago, but let's go really old school. You still make fiberglass rods.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, this year we are coming out with a brand new series, 4 models, called the Super G, which we've essentially decided to build the best fiberglass rod ever built. We are working with a new fiberglass that is incredibly strong. I mean, we're putting these rods in our rod breaker machine. They're taking crazy amounts of weight before they break. We really do believe in this new series called the Super G. There's a 10.6 model, a 9-foot model, and 2 8-foot models. Definitely the longer models are more focused on the West Coast, trolling fisheries that are excellent for, pro trolls and super baits, or your trolling flasher and herring. And then the 8-footers are great plug rods for out here, but they also, have popularity as like live bait rods. Even in the salt, these can be used in the downrigger. The fiberglass has actually still got a ton of advantages, and a lot of guys that fish fiberglass know that. One thing that actually sets us apart from a lot of other rod companies is that we'll build rods out of fiberglass or graphite or a combination of the two. We do make fiberglass and graphite composite rods. But these ones are going to be very popular starting out here on the West Coast fisheries. But we've also got, catfish anglers interested, or for their bait rods, down on the Mississippi River and things like that. There's a ton of uses for that softer action of fiberglass, and it's the type of rod that you don't have to really worry about either. We're really excited about these Super Gs as a fiberglass option.
Well, Lucas, we have got to go, but folks, as you can tell, Lamiglass has not gone away. As a matter of fact, it sounds like they're coming back stronger than ever. You can find Lamiglass rods just about any sporting goods store you're shopping at, and you can also check out their product line at their website. It's lamiglass.com. That's lamiglass.com. Northwest owned and operated company. Give them some dollars. You'll be pleased by what you get in return. Lucas, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much, John.
Spur Lake, Rice Lake, Sugar Lake, Mud Lake, Long Lake, Ant Lake, Swan Lake, and Lake of the Woods. Oh, I fish everywhere.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. Visit Leupold.com or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. This week, we're talking to Max Lure Pro Guide Bruce Warren, the owner of Fishing for Fun Guide Service, and we're talking about the Double D Dodger, which is a product Max Lure Company has that most people associate with kokanee. But I understand here at Fish Camp that a lot of people can use this for salmon as well.
Absolutely, John. Everybody familiar with the 4-incher for kokanee, Double D Dodger. If you've never seen one, pick one up, look at it close. You'll understand why we love it so much, because we can rig it multiple ways. It will dive away from the boat to spread our lines out. The same application, only in a bigger 8-inch size for salmon. Same thing, same colors, and it works wonderful. You're behind your small super baits, a spinner, something. It's a dodger, and a flasher, so it dodges, it moves back and forth, it adds action to your baits. You can run a little bit shorter leader for these salmon, say a 36 to 48 inch leader, and it will impair some more action on there. So if you're running something that doesn't have a lot of action, such as a hoochie or a squid, it will give it action. If you have something like a super bait where it already has its own action to it, it will give it more action. Again, it's a great product.
That's the Double D Dodger from Max Lure Company. Consider adding this to your arsenal the next time you go salmon fishing, and if you get a chance to come to the Columbia River or some of the other rivers here in the Northwest and you want to go salmon or steelhead fishing, look up Bruce Warren. His website is fishingforfunguideservice.com. That's fishingforfunguideservice.com. And that wraps up this week's Max Minute.
Looking for that extra something that will get more salmon or trout into your boat? Then check out the Double D Dodger from Max Lure. The Double D does double duty and helps you catch more fish. The Double D's flash attracts lunkers, and the Dodger's patented stop-start action works wonders to get those fish biting. The Double D does even more by acting as a side planer to get your bait away from the boat where the fish are more likely to be and more apt to strike. The Double D Dodger. It's the Dodger you've got to have from Max Lure.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Do you want to go fishing with an actual legend? You can. His name's Ed Iman. He will take you fishing for walleye, for sturgeon, for steelhead, and smallmouth bass on the Columbia River between the Dalles Dam and McNary Dam.
I'm Ed Iman, and I'd like to take you fishing on the mighty Columbia River.
That's Ed Iman. Give him a call at 541-298-3753. 541-298-3753. Go fishing with Ed at 541-298-3753. 888-848-9753.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
He said we're right on him. Without missing a beat, you'll drop your line down to 42 feet. If you don't screw up, it won't be long. Someone in this boat's gonna sing Fish On. Fish on, fish on. Do it by the book, don't take too long. Set the hook, reel it in strong. Fish on, fish on.
You're back at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from Fish Camp in the Columbia River Gorge. It's a place where outdoors riders and manufacturers and guides and tournament anglers come together for a week of fishing, a week of networking, and a week of camping. And one thing that just about everybody fishes for every day out here is salmon. So there's a specific method that you use off the mouth of the Klickitat in September. It's called hover fishing. And when you're hover fishing, you're basically fishing eggs right off the bottom. Now, there's a man here who knows quite a bit about eggs. His name is Steve Lynch. He's with Procure Bait Scent. And Steve, first off, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So let's talk about eggs. Some anglers fish eggs without any cure, any scent at all, just au naturel. But I know that you've been setting up a lot of our anglers and guides out here, well, with cured baits. And why would you recommend a cured bait as opposed to just fishing it natural?
Well, if you do not cure the eggs, they'll fall all apart. So you need to cure it, which firms up the membrane, tightens up the berries, so that way as you're drift fishing it, casting it, or even just hover fishing it, the natural currents just won't deteriorate the egg.
So I know that, in certain waters, not here, but anglers have come up with almost like mesh bags, for lack of a better word, to fish those naked eggs. You're saying this is still a better way to go?
This is a better way to go. And in some parts of the country, they do use the spawn sack or the different sack. And that's usually when the fish eggs are looser, when they're closer to spawn. So that's their only way to do is to wrap them up and then use a stretchy thread and try and put them together that way.
Well, I can tell you one thing. There's been a lot of success here at Fish Camp for salmon, and a lot of the guides and the pros that are fishing out here are giving you a lot of credit. And you've got a brand new cure out. It's the Procure Liquid Egg Cure. This one's the Red Hot edition. Why don't you tell our listeners more about it?
Well, first things first, Procure was the first commercial cure on the market 32 years ago. And our Red Hot Double Stuff was one of the original lines of Procure. And what we've did this year is we liquefied that to make a liquid brine. And I call this an idiot-proof style of egg curing. You virtually take your eggs, you butterfly the skeins open, you'll put them in a pint or a quart container, you shake up the liquid egg cure, pour it over it, just enough till the eggs start to float. And put them in a shelf in the refrigerator. So for steelhead, you'll want to leave them in 4 to 6 hours. For salmon, 8 to 12 hours. And at the end of that 12-hour period, all you do is you remove the eggs from the brine, put them in a colander, and let them drip any excess juice for about 2 minutes. And if you're going to use it as a bobber egg, you're done. You can put them in pint and quart containers, leave them in the refrigerator for up to 6 weeks, or freeze them for up to 2 years. But if you're going to be using them as a back bouncing or a side drifting egg, and you need a more durable egg, I then put them out on a plastic meat drying rack with a light fan blowing on it, and 1 to 3 hours will dry and firm that egg up. So I like it till it's good and tacky to the touch. And then at that point, those eggs will fish you 30 minutes, no problem. And they'll milk out beautifully during this process.
Steve, that was probably the best description of curing eggs I have ever heard in my fishing career. So thank you for that. And for those of you that were wondering, there you go. But let's talk about some of the other products you have, because you've got more than that. You've come out with something this year called your Procure Super Sauce. Comes in, 10 different SKUs. And the ones I'm looking at right now, you've got a garlic flavor, you got a tuna flavor, and a sardine flavor. What's the Super Sauce?
The Super Sauce, like you said, is brand new this year. And it's thinner than our Super Gel, but yet thicker than our oil. And real quick in a nutshell, the oil, if you're going to use real bait, you inject or marinate the bait with oil. If you're going to use anything artificial, then you use a gel base. So if you're using quick fish, lures, spoons, spinners, that's where you'd use the gel. The super sauce is a great product and it works on both. So even though it's thinner than the gel, there's a tactifier in it, which makes it super sticky. So you can put it right on eggs, you can put on anchovies, or you can put it on spoons, spinners, and wobblers. And the cool thing with this is it has a UV in it, just like the rest of our products, but we also put a pigment, so we put a dye in it. So is this leaving a trail out behind it? You're going to have a pink or an orange or a blue smoke trail coming off behind the product. So it's just an added benefit. They can see it as well as smell it.
This is fantastic. Is anyone else making any products like this?
Well, ProCare is the only one using 100% real bait. Yes, there are 3 to 5 different scent companies out there, but they're synthetic. So they're colognes or perfumes. And I'm not knocking those guys, but the problem is, as the day gets warmer, the cologne changes fragrance. So which is the right one? Is it the mild one at 60 degrees or the extreme one at 78 degrees? Our anchovy is anchovy today, tomorrow, next week. With each batch after batch, it's all the same because it's the same product we're grinding up.
We're talking to Steve Lynch with ProCure Bait Sense. I'm starting to consider him the professor of bait sense here at Fish Camp. One last thing I want to talk about here. This looks all the world like roll-on deodorant, but it's not. As a matter of fact, if you put this under your armpits, you're going to smell like crawfish or night crawler or trophy trout, shrimp, or bass. Maybe not the best flavors for a man, but pretty good flavors if you're trying to attract fish. Tell us about bait wax.
Well, bait wax is another item that's brand new in the works. We've been testing it and researching it for a little over a year. And just like any new product, before we go to market, we put it in the hands of a lot of our pro staffers and we get their feedback. And we're not 100% happy with it. So even though it's in our catalog, it's not shipping until we get every little kink worked out.
Well, why don't you go ahead and just sell it as a gag gift?
Well, and some of that might be done. But ideally, our job is to help you catch more fish. And we truly believe that this bait wax, which would be a one-of-a-kind unique item, it's instead of being like a little chapstick tube, it's going to be in an oval, wider bottle. So applying it on your bass lures or even quick fish, it's got a broader base for applying the product, but yet it will still stay on the 30 to 45 minutes putting out scent.
Amazing stuff. Well, one thing you always get here at Fish Camp is the trains rolling by, and we've got one headed our way, so we're going to wrap up. But folks, you can find ProCure Bait Sense at fishing stores all over the Northwest, or you can check out their website. It's pro-cure.com, pro-cure.com. Steve, thanks for the great tutorial and the review of your new products on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thank you very much for the time, and as always, it's a pleasure.
Especially want to thank all the little people too. Say fish on, fish on. Oh, hit him again, he's still kind of squirmy. Somebody call me taxidermy. Fish on, fish on.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top-quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun and rise above us. Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you pay a little.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and it's time for news and reports from the field. We've got interesting news about Chinook and steelhead on the Columbia and Snake Rivers this fall. The fall Chinook run built up slow, but it looks like it's on track to match the 10-year average, giving anglers on both rivers very good reasons to hit the water this month. The steelhead run this year, though, is another story. The numbers over Bonneville are way down from last year and down from the 10-year average. The good news for Snake River anglers, though, and for anglers on the Grand Ronde, is that most of the fish that are coming over the dam appear to be heading towards the Snake, the Salmon, the Clearwater, and the Grand Ronde, and the overall numbers aren't that far behind the 10-year average when you check the counts at Ice Harbor Dam. The upper Columbia steelhead run, though, is in big trouble. Typically, by this time of year, you've got 15,000 fish or more over Priest Rapids Dam. This year, as of late September, we are barely breaking 5,000 fish. I haven't heard anything yet from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, but I'll be amazed if we get any fishing for steelhead at all on the upper Columbia or its tributaries like the Wenatchee or Methow Rivers this year. Turning from salmon and steelhead to other species, we've got a whole bunch of fishing reports for you, courtesy of Sportsman's Warehouse. Our first report comes from the folks working at the Missoula Sportsman's Warehouse, and it concerns the Blackfoot River, or as I like to call it, the river runs through it river. Streamer fishing has picked up on the Blackfoot. Good streamers to try are brown zuddlers, black conehead woolly sculpins, and olive sculpinators. Dry fly fishing has been good in the afternoons with mahogany duns and blue wing olives, but attractors like Chernobyl, stimulators, and parachute Adams are still producing well. The Lewiston stores got a report about Dvorak Reservoir, where fishermen have been catching quite a few bass in the past few weeks. They suggest using soft plastics like tube jigs, curltail grubs, and to fish these baits along steep banks of the bays. Drop shotting is a great way to target the bass that may be in deeper water. Robo worms are a good choice of a drop shot worm to use. Another method is to use a Rapala JSR 5 or 7 in a crawfish pattern, because crankbaits can be used to cover a lot of water, so casting and retrieving these baits parallel with the steep banks of the bays is a great option. Heading towards the border of Oregon and Idaho, the Meridian stores got a report about Brownlee Reservoir, and they say go 26 feet down. If you do, you're going to find the smallmouth and largemouth bass fishing is really good. They also recommend trying crawfish-colored crankbaits along with Senkos, drop shots, buzzbaits, and spinnerbaits. Crappie fishing is excellent with lots of filleable fish being caught. Try crappie nibbles, worms, cut bait, or small sinking rapalas. And count fishing's only been fair, but you might get some if you try livers, stink baits, or shrimp with anise oil, or just night crawlers. Heading to eastern Washington, the Spokane Sportsman's Warehouse reports the walleye fishing on Banks Lake has continued to be a little bit slow, with the fish spreading out throughout the whole lake. Because of that, anglers have had a hard time locating a school of active fish. One place to look for them is along deep ledges and at rock points, and bass will be in those places as well, mainly feeding on bait fish. So consider using a crankbait. You'll cover a lot of water. Might also want to try a crawler harness like a Max double whammy or a slow death rig behind a bottom bouncer. In western Washington, the Kelso Sportsman's Warehouse store has got a report about Silver Lake, where crappie fishing remains good. They recommend fishing jigs under a small float near cover for the best results. Bass are being taken with topwater tactics still, including frogs, and there's decent trout fishing now with spoons and spinners working the best. In heading down to the central Oregon coast, the Albany store reports that the Waldport Chinook fishing is very good. Chinook are being caught in the Jaws and Bay in good numbers the past couple of weeks. Trolling is the most popular method. They recommend using a short bus flasher and herring. A flasher with a spinner is another effective setup. If you don't have a boat, you can cast right off the beach and get some fish too. Try a Mepps Flying C or a Blue Fox spinner in size 6. So there you go. You've got a whole bunch of fishing reports from all over the Northwest, courtesy of Sportsman's Warehouse. And if you need to stock up on fishing tackle or want more information, drop by your local Sportsman's Warehouse store. And it being October, you'll want to gear up for hunting season 2. If you don't have a Sportsman's Warehouse store near you, then go online to sportsmanswarehouse.com and go shopping. Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we've got another product review for you from Fish Camp in the Columbia River Gorge. We're talking to Lauren Dunbar. He is the principal founder of Heavy Beads, and he makes beads for a tactic called bead fishing that's very effective for steelhead and for trout in our Northwest rivers and beyond. But this year, Lauren, you come out with something new, and I really like this. Tell our listeners about these soft beads that you have that look all the world and feel all the world, well, like big salmon eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got a couple, actually. We've got our soft beads, which are new, coming out right now, and then we've got what you've got in your hand is our super soft beads. And our soft beads are harder than most soft beads that you'd see on the market today, but super durable. And they're really great for drift fishing because they bounce like a super ball on the rocks and they won't get caught and so forth. So they'll tumble really well. They're really neutral buoyant for those people that like to drift fish.
So let's go ahead and talk about this here. Why would I use these super soft beads that you basically, put together on your hook like a cluster of eggs versus real eggs?
Right. So the super soft beads are incredible. They're super durable for one thing, so they'll last you all day long. I just fished some today that I fished all day long and caught fish. There they were still on the hook and so forth. So they're awesome that way. But you can peg them on your line with just your line. So they're that durable. You can take and stick the line through your bead and then come back around through the bead again. And when you set that hook, the line straightens out and the bead is so durable, it doesn't even slice the bead in half like all the other plastic and rubber beads out on the market.
Wow, very clever. So I'm guessing the big application for this is going to be in rivers where you can't use bait, where artificial lure regulations apply.
Yeah, that's really good there. There's a lot of applications for them because they're so stretchy and durable. They're so stretchy you could have one of our heavy beads or a plastic bead on your line. You can pull it over the top of it and envelop it and turn it into a heavy soft bead. You could even fish split shot if you wanted to. They float, and so you can fish them like people do corkies. They're also a good application out for the guys fishing in the lakes and the ponds for like a marshmallow or a power bait type of a situation. They'll float your up in it, and we'll have them scented and non-scented, and so they're going to be awesome.
Always innovative, Lauren. That's what I like about you. And Heavy Beads, where can folks find these, and is there a website where they can find out more as well?
Yeah, www.heavybeads.com. And then Heavy Beads is carried in, right now, these are just going to hit the stores, and so probably a lot of stores, you won't see them there for just a little bit. But Heavy Beads is sold in Sportsman's Warehouses all over the Northwest, Bi-Mart, Dick's, some of the Dick's, some of the Cabela's, and Outdoor Emporium, Sportco, and so forth. North 40 for the people out east.
All right, that's Heavy Beads, spelled HEVI-beads. So that's heavybeads.com. Go ahead and check them out or look for them at a sporting goods store near you. Try these out. I suspect they're going to work really well for any of the applications that Lauren just talked about. Lauren, thanks as always.
Thank you very much.
Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Tired of the same old fishing hole? Then head to Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Enjoy a weekend on the glacial waters of Wallowa Lake, where you can troll for the deep water excitement of kokanee or cast your line for some trout fishing fun. Bring your float tube or canoe and enjoy fishing in some of Wallowa County's small lakes. Or don your waders and step into the clear waters of the Wallowa, Imnaha, or Grand Ronde rivers. Early to bed, early to rise, fish all day, and there'll be no need for lies when you fish the waters of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Visit us online at wallawacountychamber.com.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking. From camp stoves to cast iron, from smokers to grills, Camp Chef will change the way you cook outdoors. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Whether you're serving breakfast in the backcountry or barbecue on the back patio, savor the simplicity with Camp Chef. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
We've got time for one more shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
Got a couple of upcoming events to tell you about here. Fort Stevens State Park near Astoria, Oregon is a great place to go any time of year, but this month there are several activities taking place that look like they'll be fun, to include guided wild mushroom hikes. They're taking place from 1 to 3 p.m. on both October 7th and the 14th. Meet at Battery Russell if you want to go on that one. And in that same general area, you can go on a guided bird walk on the Fort to Sea Trail at Sunset Beach. This takes place on the 5th from 9 to 11 a.m. No experience is necessary, and binoculars are provided if you need them. Speaking of optics, if you're into stargazing, consider a trip to Idaho's Bruneau Dunes State Park. For the next 2 Friday and Saturdays, beginning at 6:30 p.m., you'll be able to take in the stars at the observatory there, and with minimal light pollution in the area, it should be breathtaking if the skies are clear. You can enjoy a similar experience at the Goldendale Observatory, which is also a state park in south central Washington. The main 14-inch telescope has been out being refurbished for a while, but it's being remounted and will be available for use again sometime this month. Programs begin at 6 p.m. and take place Friday through Sunday. You may want to call in advance before you go to make sure that telescope is back in service. Finally, for our Central Montana listeners, there's going to be a Fall Family Fest at Giant Springs State Park in Great Falls on October 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. This looks like it will be a fun, old-fashioned picnic-style event. There's going to be sack races, face painting, hay rides, crafts, and, of course, s'mores. Bring your fishing pole, too. The Missouri River is right there, and you just might hook into some trout. And now, it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. The eastern brook trout is a good-looking fish, and I've always enjoyed catching them out of streams and mountain lakes. The fact of the matter, though, is that these trout are not trout at all. Nope, they are a different sort of fish. Do you know what family of fish the brook trout belongs to? If you do, go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com and go to the Contact Us page and give us your answer. Or, if you prefer, go to our Facebook page. Just search Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You'll find the post. Give us your answer. One lucky person who guesses right will win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. While you're on the web, go to our sister show website at americaoutdoorsradio.com. You'll find a podcast of last week's show. You can also find out where this new show is airing. It's our national show, has a strong West Coast influence, and I think you'll really enjoy it. If it isn't airing near you, then get a hold of your station. Let them know you want to hear America Outdoors Radio. Enough of you do that, we might just get on there. Finally, you can hear both this show and America Outdoors Radio on WRVL Radio. It's the internet station dedicated to outdoors programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll find that website at renoviolaoutdoors.com. That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed our second and final Fish Camp edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio for the year. I'd like to again thank host Ed Iman, his wife Pam, and the great work crew there, including Levon Hall, for all they do so that us hungry outdoors riders have a place to sleep, eat, and opportunities to fish as well. If you want to find out about fishing in the Columbia River Gorge, check out the Dalles Chamber of Commerce website. They've got all sorts of information there. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.